is one of the kindest people that you know? If you were to describe somebody as they are legitimately a kind person, who would that be? Who would you think about? When I think about kind people, and gentle people, I always go back to my grandmother. My grandmother was one of the kindest and most gentle people I ever knew. Only ever knew one set of grandparents, my dad's parents, and my grandmother was maybe 4'11", and she could cook at any time of day, and it was good at it. But just always one of the kindest people. I remember that was one of the first things that Susan noticed about her, just how she just loved you, and when you came in the house, and just was kind. Kindness is something that we definitely need. Now, in some of our versions, is reading Galatians 5:22 and 23, some of you are like, wait a minute, in the next one, gentleness, and there are some translation things. So kindness and gentleness are going to go together. This word that we're having this morning in Greek can be translated as kindness, or it can be translated as gentleness. We were like, wait a minute, well, gentleness in my version is another one, but some of you have, when we get down to meekness, some of you have meekness translated as gentleness. Now, here's the deal. This is the way I differentiate between the two of them. In a few weeks, we'll talk about the meekness, gentleness part. But when I'm thinking of kindness and gentleness, I'm thinking of kindness and gentleness as some of my actions and my words. Whereas the meekness and gentleness is my spirit, the spirit in which I do that. And that's why we said the fruit of the Spirit are all connected. So you can't say, well, I'll be kind, but I don't want to be meek. Well, that doesn't work. The spirit with which you do kindness is meekness. And so we'll put all those together over the next few weeks. But this morning, I want us to concentrate on kindness in this version of gentleness. Jesus taught about kindness and mercy through a parable that's familiar with in Luke chapter 10 of the Good Samaritan. A lot of us are very familiar with that parable, but he taught us about that, and if you're there and you see Luke 10, I won't read all of it. There was a lawyer that was trying to justify some things, and he said, okay, what are the laws? What's the law of Moses? And they went back and forth to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your strength, and love your neighbor. And Jesus said, sounds good. And the guy said, well, let's find out who is my neighbor. Because he's trying to justify his actions and justify who he has to take care of and who he has to show kindness to. Wouldn't it be nice if God gave you a list of who you had to be kind to and who you didn't have to be kind to? And then you're like, hold on. Oh, you're not on my list. And so, but he gives them this parable, and he talks about, and he makes a Samaritan the hero of the story, which would have just really rubbed his audience a wrong way. Because he tells them this man had been beaten up and robbed and left on the side of the road half dead. And so here he is on the side of the road half dead, and we're told that a priest, so he's going to hit all the religious people here, a priest and then a Levite both came by, and they saw the individual, and they decided to go around on the other side and to ignore and to not give help, to not show mercy, to not show kindness. But then he says this hated Samaritan comes, and he begins to tell all the Samaritan does. And he begins to tell how the Samaritan saw the man, had compassion for the man. He went to him. He put him on his own beast. He bandaged up his wounds. He took care of him, took him back to an inn, said, hey, listen, here's a couple days' wages. I'll be back in a couple days. If I owe you something when I get back, I'll take care of that. And then Jesus said, which of these was the neighbor? And, of course, the answer was easy. Even for this very religious lawyer, he said, the one who showed mercy and kindness. He said, go and do likewise. And as I read that, I think there's a couple things that come into mind when it comes to kindness. When we think of showing kindness, we often think that we need to have the means, and we need to have and by the means, I mean the resources, and we also think that we need to have the opportunity. Now, here's the deal. The Levite and the priest both had the means, the resources, and the opportunity. We know they had the opportunity, right? That's easy. There's a man lying there half dead. That's opportunity. They could have done something. Now, you say, well, maybe they didn't have the means or the resources that the Samaritan had. Here's the deal. God is not concerned with your resources and your means. He's just concerned when you give the opportunity, will you use what you have? See, a lot of us can make excuse sometimes, well, I don't have this, so I can't do that. This past Monday evening, those of us that were in Costa Rica, we went to Gloriana's house. No, most of you have never met Gloriana, but we went to Gloriana's house, and Gloriana fed us. Now, when I say Gloriana's house, I don't want you to imagine a middle income, a middle class home. I want you to imagine someplace that you would probably call just a shack, probably something you would say that's where poor people live. But let me tell you real quick, Gloriana is not poor. And I'm not even talking about how much she has financially. See, Gloriana spent all day making this stew for us over a fire outside with this huge pot, and she had mixed everything in there, and it was incredible how it tasted. But more than the taste and more than everything she did, it was the heart with which it was done. She used what she had and fed us. And before she fed us, she said, I would like to pray for them. And I don't know Spanish that well, but I knew the heart behind the prayer. And listen to her heart, how she was pouring it, thanking God for us, thanking God for how she gets to be with us and minister to us, and thank God that we came there. You talked about feeling about that big and unworthy. You see, it's not about what you have means. See, I know. I come back from Susan can tell you, I come back from every trip like this, and I want to be a millionaire. And I don't want to be a millionaire because I want a bunch of money. I want to be a millionaire because I want to give it all away. Anybody with me? I want to, Lord, give me millions and I can do some of that. I watch other people with millions and just waste it. And I'm like, Lord, we could do something with that. But it's not how much you have. It's are you willing to do with what you have? So there's 5 words that I want to give to you. They're on your handout that I'm going to give you these quickly that I see in this story about kindness that we can share. The first word is see. We need to see. We need to see people where they are and in the condition that they are in. We need to open our eyes. So many of us have our eyes closed to what is going on around us that we're not seeing people and we're not seeing their condition. And until our eyes are open, and so maybe we need to wake up each morning and say, God, open my eyes today, open my eyes physically, open my eyes spiritually, help me to see the people around me that are in need. I think so many times we walk by people, you even walk by people this morning at church, and maybe you didn't look deep enough in their eyes to know that there's a need with them. We need to learn to see people where they are. As a matter of fact, God demonstrates this. He is the God who sees. The God who sees, Elroy. He is the God who sees. So we need to follow that pattern. The second word is to feel. To feel. The Samaritan saw the man's condition, and we know the next part, he had compassion. Feelings are something that help promote us and move us toward what Jesus would have us do. I don't live in my feelings, but I live with feelings. Do you get the difference? I can't live in my feelings all the time, but I live with feelings. And when you look at people and you have compassion, that compels you. And so, but if I never see them, then I don't know how to have compassion. So I need to learn to have compassion and to feel, to have empathy, to feel what they feel. I think of Jesus when he saw the multitude. The Bible said he was moved with compassion. He felt what they felt. The third word is go. It is go. The man went to where he was. You see, I could see and I could feel, but if I don't go, seeing and feeling don't matter anymore. Oh, I see the need, I feel what they feel, but I'm just going to stay over here and not get involved. That's where most of us are. I think a lot of us do see the need, a lot of us do feel it, but do we do anything about it? Do we go to where they are? We keep expecting us to have this, if you build it, they will come mentality. Let people come to me. That's not what, Jesus never said that. Jesus never said sit still and let them come. He said to go. And so we are compelled to see it, to feel it, and then to go. And then when we go to where they are. Notice we go where they are. Well, what if where they are smells? Go where they are. What if where they are is difficult? Go where they are. You know, could you imagine if you called 911 and you had a situation? By the way, it's been exciting around here this weekend at the church. We had stolen cars in the parking lot. Y'all see the trailer out here? It's stolen. We had stolen stuff all in the parking lot on Saturday morning. Patrick texted me Saturday morning like, is this yours? And so license plates removed. That's exciting stuff. Could you imagine, though, if you called 911? Let's just say you have a fire going on at your house. Boy, we got stories for y'all from Costa Rica. This is probably a first for some of you. John was taking a shower. John, true or not, the shower caught on fire. The shower caught on fire. If your shower head catches on fire, we'll have to explain all that to y'all. His shower head caught on fire. That's exciting. But could you imagine if you called 911 and you said, I have a fire at my house, and they're like, will you bring it to us and we'll put it out? And you're like, that's ridiculous. But that's so often what we're doing as the church. We tell people to bring your fire here. And God told us, no, I want you to go where they are. Go where they are. And the fourth word that I'll give you is serve. This Samaritan used what he had. In kindness, he saw the man's condition, and he used what he had. He had bandages, he had olive oil, he had wine, he bandaged all that up. He had his own donkey. He used what he had in order to help the man. Well, maybe the Levite didn't have bandages. It wasn't about bandages. Well, maybe the Levite didn't have a donkey. It wasn't about a donkey. It was about using what you do have. Going to where they are, using what you have, and serving them. That was the word that we came away with this week, is people served. I think John talked about that this whatever night we were last in Costa Rica. The days are running together. He talked about that the people just served. Oh, that God would give us a heart of service. And just use what God's given us and go where they are. And the last word, my favorite word on this one, is repeat. Do it again. Do it again. Well, I served, so I'm done now. No. The life of the believer when it comes to kindness is to do all of these things, to see, to feel, to go, to serve, and then do it again. Jesus said, go and do likewise. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. If you think there's just one person that needs a good Samaritan, oh, you've not seen this world. So go and do all of these things, and then when you get done, go find somebody else, and find somebody else, and find somebody else. Imagine if you showed up to the ER today and they're like, hey, we've already served as much as we're going to serve today. That's not the way it works. Well, in the same way, we, as the church, we are called to show kindness and to do it over and over again. Why? Because all of these things is what Jesus did and does for us. All of it is what he did and does for us. And so we, through kindness and gentleness, are reflecting the Spirit's work in our lives. So let's go do all of these things. Now let me take you to one more passage, Ephesians 4, verse 32. Ephesians 4, verse 32. This is going to be familiar to a lot of you. The word that we're using this morning, kindness or gentleness in your Bible, is the same Greek word here in Ephesians 4, the very last verse in that chapter. He just told us, by the way, I think it's good, the preceding verse told us to get rid of some stuff, to get rid of things like bitterness and rage and hatred and harsh words and slander. He told us to get rid of all of that stuff. So instead, here's what he calls us to do in verse 32, be kind. Be kind to each other. Be kind to each other. Tender-hearted and forgive, just like Christ forgave you. Now, I want you to take those things, and I'm going to give you three things real fast. The first thing that we learned is this, that I see, is that kindness is counter to our culture. Kindness is counter to our culture. Verse 31 is our culture. Our culture is all about bitterness and rage and anger and slander and harsh words. But kindness is counter to that. And as the church, we have started talking more like the culture and letting the culture dictate how we treat people than how Christ treated people. So we have become priests and Levites who are criticizing the ones on the ground because maybe they don't look, act, do like us. They don't come from the same social class. They don't come from the same religious sect. So we're going to look down our nose at them and even become very critical. And this never, never, ever is supposed to be the church of Jesus Christ. The church of Jesus Christ is supposed to have kindness on our tongue, and kindness in our hearts, and kindness in the way we do things. And I like the word gentleness as we get there, because I need to learn to do it gently as well. In a society that is caustic and everybody is choosing sides, we need to be people that are choosing the side of kindness. And that is always going to be counter to the culture that we live in. I watch everything. Many of you know that I've been involved in sports for many years. And it is amazing because we can put a ball of any type, any shape, between two teams, and suddenly everyone in the stands becomes unkind. And yes, even to those of us that wear stripes, they really become unkind. But we have decided they are my enemy. Hey, listen, it's just a ball. It's not that big a deal. At the end of the day, we're going to go home, and at the end of the day, we're going to live our lives. But if you live that way and act that way, it's counter to our culture. I've watched so many times. We pulled in yesterday. One of the beauties of being in Costa Rica this week and not knowing Spanish is I didn't hear a lot of profanity. Or if I did, I didn't understand it. So Susan and I are driving home Saturday morning, and we stop at a gas station, and these two ladies at the gas pump beside me, oh my goodness, they were letting somebody have it with every word that you could imagine. And I was like, ladies, could y'all be part of my illustration for tomorrow's sermon? And they said yes, so that's why I'm giving it to you. No, their words were counter to kindness. But that's become normal. Most of the time, we don't even think about that anymore. And of course, we have the whole political scene which is before us. And that all kindness has just been thrown out the window where that is concerned. I don't care which side of the aisle someone's on, or even if you're in the middle of the aisle. We have just decided that we cannot be kind. So here's a couple tips that I will give you this morning. One of them is take Scripture seriously, be quick to hear, and slow to speak. Be quick to hear and slow to speak. It would be a good idea if we thought before we spoke. Could you imagine what life would be like that if we did it? Oh, by the way, the next part is be slow to anger. Because if you read the rest of that verse in James, because human anger produces nothing good. So be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. The second piece of advice I would give you that I have found just good for me is, because remember, all these fruits of the Spirit tie together. So if I have not really gotten the self-control part down yet, then I probably need to keep my mouth shut. And I also probably need to disable my Facebook. Are we good? Because if I can't speak kindness, I don't care if it's out of my mouth or it's digitally or online, whatever it may be, then I need to say, I don't have that ability yet, so I need to stop that right here. Because the church needs to be known for its kindness not its power. That we have power over people. Listen, we have no power over people. Jesus should have power over us. And if Jesus has power over us, we're going to be counter to the culture, and we're going to demonstrate kindness in our words and in our actions. And so that is what God has called us to do. So kindness is counter to our culture. So that's why he has to say to them, Paul says, hey, listen, church, be kind. Be kind. Be nice. Yeah, y'all remember, some of you seen that little video that I've shown before? We've shown it in here before. Where the guy comes in, he's a pastor, and he's all frustrated. And he's like, you guys, be kind, be nice. And then he calls out one of the members, Dan, you're the problem, you know. We won't do that this morning. But just be kind. Be kind to each other. Be kind. And then he says, be kind to each other. And here's where it comes from, tender-hearted. Second thing, your measure of kindness is determined by the condition of your heart. There's the problem. When my heart is cold, when my heart is bitter, when my heart is angry, I'm going to shout angry words, bitter words, cold words. But when my heart has been changed to look like Jesus' heart, and I'm reflecting the heart of Jesus, when I do that, kindness is going to flow. That's why he says bitter water and sweet water can't come out of the same source. What we need is God to change our hearts, not just our words. It's because when God changes our hearts, our words are just going to naturally flow out of that. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so, God, I need you to give me a tender heart. Think about that word for just a second, a tender heart. Some of you have been described as being too sensitive. Anybody in here been described as being too sensitive? Yes. You're just too sensitive. Well, here's the deal. Here's one thing that I think we need to know, we need to have, is we need to have a sensitivity to others and a sensitivity to God at the same time. And if I'm sensitive to what God would do, then I'm going to be sensitive to what others need. And therefore, I'm going to know and choose my words better. I'm going to know and choose my actions better. I'm going to quit ignoring. You know, I know we were all kind of taught, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Anybody got that? But I think maybe we need to do this. If I can't say anything nice, maybe I need God to change my heart so I can say something nice. Maybe I need God to do something in me. Because we can find something good. That's why I had you do that little thing this morning. Go around and tell somebody something nice and good. Because we need to be kind. I just think about Jesus. I think about the woman at the well. I just love that whole story and everything that happened in that. And how Jesus, you know, he's the Son of God. He could just blow this woman off, but he doesn't do that. He shows kindness. And he did that over and over again with people. And I'm like, that's what we strive to be like. Tender-hearted. And so if my heart has got cold and callous, I need God to break it open and reveal himself in it. Tender-hearted. And then I'll give you the last thing. And that is that the kindest thing we can do is forgive. The kindest thing we can do is forgive. Can I be honest with you? Forgiveness is hard. When you've really been hurt, forgiveness is tough. I'm telling you, it's a lot easier to stand up here and talk about than it is to actually do. But he said to be kind, tender-hearted, and he lumps in this forgiving one another, and he gives us to what measure we forgive, just the same way Christ forgave you. How does he forgive you? Completely, freely. Not because we deserve it. You see, I have no right to vengeance. The vengeance mentality in our culture is crippling. You hurt me, I'll hurt you. You talk bad about me, I'll talk bad about you. You despise me, I'll despise you. And there's no place for forgiveness in that vengeance mentality. But instead, what I have to learn to do is say, okay, God, all vengeance belongs to you anyway. So I'm just going to give up my right to vengeance. I'm going to give up my right to getting them back. I'm going to give up my right to getting even. The pastor I grew up under, he used to say, I don't like to get even, I like to get ahead. That's a problem. That's a problem. The vengeance mentality doesn't need to be anywhere within the Church of Jesus Christ. We'll never reflect Jesus as long as we tolerate the prevalent spirit of unkindness. And so I don't know what it is or who it is, and we've talked about forgiveness. You know that I don't think forgiveness is just act like it never happened and just move on. No, you got to deal with the issues. You got to deal with the things. But you also have to understand that if you are not demonstrating forgiveness, it's controlling you, not the other person. Forgiveness is more about you than it is them. And I don't want to be held down. Because as long as I let that stay, it's got root of bitterness that's going to spring up, and I can't be tender-hearted anymore. So resist unkind attitudes. And if you have to, resist unkind people. If people around you are unkind, find a new set of friends. If the attitudes and the things you see, you can choose that. You can choose that. And you should choose that. I want to surround myself with people that are going to demonstrate kindness. And that's why I've enjoyed the last 8 or 9 days. As we've been gone, we've been with a group of people, and just like last year with a group of people, and we're all crammed in a van together, and that's exciting and fun for hours and hours. But we were with a group of people that demonstrated kindness, and so we were looking out for each other, caring for one another. That's the church. And then we should be taking this out to the world and showing them Jesus. And now when people think about Jesus, they think about, I remember that lady at work the other day showed me kindness, and she says she's a follower of Jesus. I need to know more about that. Oh, man, the other day I was at the store, and this man was so kind to me. And he got to talk to me and talking about his faith. I wonder what he's got that I don't have. You see, this is where it comes down. The fruit of the Spirit is kindness. And as I said, we can't say, well, I don't want this one. All these work together. Do we have this gentleness and this kindness that we are demonstrating to one another? Be kind to each other. Maybe that's a sentence we just need to emblazon somewhere in our house. Be kind to each other. Be kind to each other. As we walk out of our door, be kind to each other. Can I be frank with you? And I'll close with this. Sometimes the people that we're the most unkind to are the people that we say we love the most. People within our own homes. Well, they're used to it. They know I'm kidding. No, they don't. Be kind to each other.